What's going on, guys? It's your boy Cash, and we are here today to do something very special, and it's because of the Guilty Gear collaboration. And I know that I actually did an old guide on all these characters, but it has been a full entire year since Soul, Dizzy, and Baiken have been in this game. So what I thought I would do is to do a brand new guide, pretty much for all three characters in one video, so you don't have to go too far. You don't have to click on each individual video, even though that would help me a lot, but it saves me time also at the same time. So I just want to help you guys out a little bit today, and let's get into it. First and foremost, I'll have to say, if they have a collaboration tab, they definitely need to actually get more collaboration. Let me know in the comment section what collaboration you'd want to see next. Just saying. Let's go in order. Soul is the character that you guys get for free. Also, just keep in mind that a character like Soul is he's free, so you can't use him as fodder. I had this issue with Yuna. I got Yuna for free, so I have two Yunas, one that I actually have geared and another one I can't touch, and I had to put into storage because you can't do anything with them. Be careful, guys. If you get another Soul, I do not think that you can use it as fodder. I will give you guys an update in the comment section, like a pinned comment or something, but if you already have Soul, I don't think you should go get another one because you'll just end up putting in storage. I mean, in general, that's the case anyway, because you can't use two of the same characters on the same team. So unless you just want to randomly have Soul built twice, there's no purpose of doing that. So let's start off with this. All right, so first let's go over to his lovely stats. His attack is 1100, is not that bad. Health is pretty good. 5300 is not that bad. Speed 119. That is very, very high, by the way. Really good speed there. He actually awakens into crit chance. Delicious. So he goes up to 27. That's pretty good. That's the only thing that really gets affected by that. So let's go over, look at his skills. I mean, you guys have seen his skills, but it's just what is it like? Going full circle. Let me turn this up just so you can hear the spice all in there. Come on, say it. Say it. There it is. Gunflame. Because that's the name of the move, so I wanted him to say it. Anyway, Gunflame attacks an enemy with a Pillars of Fire. Damage dealt increases when the enemy isn't buffed. Gains 20% Fighting Spirit when a critical hit is made. You can Molagor to increase the damage, and we'll figure out what all that Fighting Spirit is in a second. Let's go over to the S3 Fire. Tyrant Rave version beta. Acquire 60 Fighting Spirit, gives you also 3 souls. Attacks with a strong punch, dispelling all buffs before making them unbuffable. That's pretty much the reason why. He strips and he also makes them unbuffable. He's supposed to be a counter really for characters that have some type of buff. As I was talking to someone in my comment section below in another video, is that yes, he counters K-Round pretty good. He counters K-Round pretty good, only with a certain artifact though. Damage dealt increases proportional to the enemy's max HP, which is phenomenal. That's the same thing as poison damage. You can also soul burn it for 10 souls, pretty cheap, and ignore effect resistance, so the strip and the unbuffable have a higher chance to land. Now let's go over to this big monstrous paragraph of justice. Counter attacks and silence for 2 turns when an enemy uses a non-attack skill, or when the caster is attacked by elite or boss monster. That is why he's so good in Golem. He's pretty much good in any PvE content because he gets free counterattacks with his S1. As you guys know, if they crits, he also gets Fighting Spirit. What's the Fighting Spirit for? Before we go, the damage dealt increases proportional to the enemy's max health. Again, so really good damage on that. Can only activate it once every 2 turns, but don't you worry, there's more. Roman Cancel, which is pretty good mechanic in the actual Guilty Gear game. When the caster's Fighting Spirit is at 100 at the end of an ally's turn, doesn't matter if it's his turn or one of your other allies, it consumes, where is it? Where was I reading? The caster consumes all Fighting Spirit and extends the duration of the buffs granted to the caster before being granted an extra turn. Now, he doesn't give himself any buffs, but if he has a buff, it will be extended at that time. So he pretty much gets an extra turn for free and all that good gushy stuff. So obviously you got the Tyrant Raid to get 60, you get 20 every time that you use this the S1, and that is what's so cool about him. He's a really solid character. You can actually use him in current PvP. It's not like he would be too bad. Of course, the only problem is that he is fire, and fire just struggles with the dominantness of water. But with the current meta of things, which is the whole purpose of this video, is that, now Seaside Bologna has a lot of counters, so you can actually bring him in and not have to worry about him dying in a bloody rage of fire. Plus, there's a lot of support characters that are in the meta right now. For example, let's go with like a random team comp that you might see is like, you know, A-Lots. You see A-Lots, he does his little boost, right? The first thing that he would actually do off that, he would counterattack the A-Lots and he would silence him. So he kind of attacks support characters. Same thing if Elena is in there, she would use her skill. It's a non-attack skill. He would actually hit her, silence her. Yes, it's off element, but it would actually work pretty cool. Like he wouldn't do too bad in the meta is pretty much my point. Oh yeah, let's look at the S3 animation. Pretty quick. But if you look at the game, that's actually what it looks like. It's just like pretty much an uppercut into a straight punch. So there is that. But that is pretty much Soul. He's a pretty basic character. His speed is phenomenal. So if you want him to go first, obviously you would want to go with more speed. In PvE, going first really means nothing because it's you know, it's going to be a constant battle over and over and over again. It's usually very long and strenuous kind of fight. So sometimes speed is not the best thing. You might want to just up his damage. One thing that you guys can also go on him was counter. Yes, his S2 counters when they use a non-attack skill or when he gets hit by a boss. That is a possibility, but if that doesn't happen, you know, within those 2 time frames, you get another counter, which increases your ability to use the counter and get the fighting spirit. It's just to make him a little bit more consistent. Another thing that a lot of people were running on him back in the day was lifesteal as well, because of the fact that he gets the Roman cancel. He pretty much gets extra turns and he can somewhat sustain himself with his passive, getting those extra turns. Me personally, at the current state of the meta, I would have him on a high crit set, especially if you want to use him in Golem. A lot of people are looking for characters that are going to help you with the new hunts. It's kind of, that's what they were always cool for. Some have been excel pretty much in PvP. Baiken excels in PvP, Dizzy excels in PvP. Soul is okay in PvP. Let's go over to the artifacts. Uber's Tooth is the artifact that I was mentioning earlier, in which you can actually kill off a Kayron in one fatal swoop. The S3 will not only make him unbuffable, strip any buffs that he currently has. His Kayron's passive will not trigger, which means that his immortality will not proc, and then he will be left there. They did change that Kayron stays alive even if he doesn't get the unbuffable, but Uber's Tooth is a secondary hit that then will take out Kayron, which is pretty cool tech. I don't think it's super worth it to do it, but as you can see, he's not faster than Kayron, but you could catch him off guard. Also, Uber's Tooth is just really good because it allows you a lot of additional damage anyway, so pretty good artifact on him. His artifact, Junkyard Dog, I think is okay, but I think it's better on more counter attack oriented warriors. He has a counter attack in his kit, but it's not that important that he burns characters. That's why you see it more on weird characters like Gunther. You might even see it on like Sigurd, because she might need it for, there are better options for Soul pretty much. Juggle Plate is a good option just for the fact that it reduces damage and increases his crit damage. He should be built on some type of crit build, so this would help him out a lot. Pretty self-explanatory. I like this one as well because if the battle is drawn out, he will get crit for free, and then eventually you'll have higher crit chance, and hopefully enough that you can skimp out on his actual stats, let the artifact kind of do it for you, and then start critting every turn after a while, after a little bit of a build-up. This is especially good in something like the Labyrinth, where the stacks actually stack on in between the fights. Sigurd Scythe is always a pretty good staple on warriors, just like every thief can have RNL pretty much. It's pretty good. You lose health once your health gets low, especially after taking so much damage. He'll not only get an attack boost, he'll also heal for the amount of damage that he does, so he can pretty much heal himself back to full, which is really good with the Roman cancel, really good with the counter mechanic that he already has. And Creation and Destruction for the cheekiest of plays to just mash your S3. If you were to get this to proc, and you can S3 and then S3 again and just be at full free. Fighting Spirit would be pretty funny, but it's funny. It's not really legit. The other options are tremendously better. Next up is going to be Baiken, who's currently on banner. Now, it's funny that this character was deemed really crappy back in the day. Reason being is that her whole mechanic of, well, let's look at her mechanic and I'll briefly explain it. I don't want to spend too much time on it because she's a pretty self-explanatory character. Oh, I miss using her. I actually really want to re-gear her. I took her gear off because I was anticipating playing World Arena, and then I said, nah, whatever. So we have the S1, attacks the enemy repeatedly with a 45% chance to put 2 bleeds on the enemy. A critical hit will reduce the cooldown of all the skills, which is going to be the S2 and the S1. Did you see that? That's the issue right there. The fact that it's a double chance, and I explain this every time, and I'll explain it again because we're also gonna have Dizzy that has a whole thing. So if a character has a chance for something to happen, it means that it has to go through 2 checks. It goes through the 45% chance that you see right there, and then it has to go through the effect resistance to actually land. It says it inflicts 2, right? As you can see, only 1 landed on the actual dummy. So that's pretty much the issue with it. And that, you see there, didn't land at all. So her whole mechanic, if you go to the S3, has to do with how many debuffs, actually how many bleeding debuffs specifically is on the character. That was the issue mostly with her. Next up is the S2, beautiful, bang, bang. Super good animation. As you can see, we left 2 bleed debuffs on the character there. Attacks the enemy with expert swordsmanship with a 55% chance each of inflicting 3 bleeding effects. As you saw, we put 2, I think, there. Effects for 2 turns. 1 bleeding effect ignores effect resistance. Pretty much what it's trying to say is that it's a high chance that at least 1 will go on. And you see there. This was a change that they gave her because it was a little bit lacking consistency. As you can see, the S1, if you Molagore it up, it's 55, and then it goes up to 70. No, sorry, 80. I was actually right the first time. 70. 70 is okay. I'd rather it have no chance at all, so it just lands, has a very, very high rate of landing, just like how that 1 bleeding is going to lead on here. This one goes up to the same thing at 70% to land the debuff. So, you know, it kind of sucks. Well, no, sorry, this is 65 and then it goes to that, so it's 80. This one's 80, so this one is higher. It also has 3 bleeding effects, and the more you can get on it, as you can see with the Gaido Tensei, delivers a deadly blow, detonating any bleeding effects inflicted on the enemy at the end of the turn. A critical hit increases the combat readiness of all allies. So, and you can also soul burn it for additional damage. You can also increase the amount of combat readiness that gets pushed, going all the way up to 25% when she gets a crit. So that's her whole kit. She's a crit machine. As you can see here, we'll see the S3. Clean. Now, if that crit, the whole team will get a 25% combat readiness push. So that's why a lot of people were running her speed at, like initially they were running her on speed. Was speed ever viable? Yes, it was. 113 is not that bad. You can viably get her to go first, but most of the time you don't want her to go first. As you can see, she has no buff in her kit, so maybe like slightly shorter. You want someone to buff her first. A-lots to give her the buff, which means that you could Ixnay on the speed say and just go pure damage. Her crit chance is going up to 23%, so she gets a slight boost in crit. If she's going against water, same thing with like how Soul is going against earth, you know, you don't have to get as much crit to get her there, but you usually want to get her to 100% crit, because if she attacks, you want her to crit. I didn't think that I mentioned that the critical hit on the S2 gets the extra turn. So pretty much you lead off with the S2 into the S3 and something should be dead. If it's not dead, go back to the gear farming. There's something super duper wrong. So as far as gear, like I said, if you don't have some type of CR pusher and you need her to go first by herself, then yes, you're gonna need to go speed set. But if you do have someone that's gonna push her up, like an A-Lots or pretty much anyone that pushes up, C-Dom, whatever like that. If you go C-Dom, you don't even have to. You know, you could pretty much not even get her any crit. But make sure that whatever your setup is, that she's getting 100% crit when she goes. Whether it's through a buff from C-Dom or any other character that boosts crit, like Furious or something, make sure you get together, because if she doesn't crit, her whole kit just seems very lackluster. It does suck that she is Earth, so she's not like light or dark, where getting 100% crit would mean that you're critting on everybody no matter what. So, you know, you do have to have 100% for anything that's not water. So just keep that in mind. Can she kill out Seaside Bellona? Oh, absolutely she can. S2 into S3 with most Baikens, especially with Molagore, is going to kill Seaside Bellona. Now, do you want effectiveness? Absolutely. You definitely want some effectiveness in there, but it's just not as important as making sure that she crits for the extra turn and the hit here, and then the S1 reducing your cooldowns. First thing we're going to talk about is RNL. RNL is stupid on her, same way it's stupid on Karen, and it's just stupid on any character that has a way to give extra turns. So what I'm saying that is, if you S2 and it crits, you're getting an extra turn, right? RNL can proc. That means you can S2, S1 into S3. You can stack up as many bleeds as possible before you actually go in for the S3 nuke. You can also, you know, S2, S3, and then RNL proxing you S1 and then lower the cooldown of both. It's stupid. It's the best option for her. There are some other good options that I have to mention, especially the new Alexis basket is now when she gets a turn, let's say you just combat readiness push her, she can now get free crit chance buff and attack greater buff, which is the death. She shouldn't need this though, but it is a good option. Alexis basket is not something you should rely on with her, I would have to say. Torn Sleeve is her lovely artifact, and it works really good because look, 50% chance to inflict bleeding for 2 turns after a single attack. You can get it up to 100%, which is more consistent than her actual kit. Don't Don't talk to me, please. Just don't talk to me. But what's really good about this is that everything she does is a bleed. And I think if I'm not mistaken, it was confirmed that Torn Sleeve will add bleed before the S3 triggers the detonate, because the detonate is at the end of the turn and this is after a single attack. So you can actually look at it as you can literally S3 a target from the beginning of the fight. It could put one bleed and that one bleed will detonate, if that makes any sense to you guys. Obviously you wouldn't do that because it's still going to be S2, S3, especially if you're not going RNL. But yeah, it's still a good artifact. Alea's knife is pretty good for the same thing that we said. Obviously she's going to S2 something first, so then it won't be at max health, and she's going to penetrate defense, making it a little bit easier to take out some of those tankier targets and, you know, ensuring kills on the squishier ones as well. Now we won't have to go here for Dizzy, I can almost guarantee you that. But one thing that Soul, also Baiken, can get from this is going to be Daydream Joker. It does additional damage when like when you're hitting a character that has a lot of max HP. It does work in PvP, just you know, it actually does work. It's not like it's the worst thing. I've had characters like a Baiken chunk out, you know, or a Soul chunk out like my Ken, someone that's stacking health, and it was like, wow, it's actually not that bad. But what it's mainly for is because they're really good in their respective hunts, because the hunt monsters, the Wyvern and the Golem, have a lot of HP, so Daydream Joker would be really good for both of them if you're using them primarily for PvE. And now the Snipe Fest of Justice. Portrait of the Saviors should now officially be open and free for everyone. Oh, I think you had a farm for it if I'm not mistaken. This one increases damage when they have full health. Pretty good because Baiken most likely won't kill with her S2. You will have a decent amount of HP, so you can still get that proc on the S3 after you S2. Last but not least, see, we're going through this quick. It's gonna be Dizzy. Now, out of the three, Dizzy was deemed the best one, and I mean, she kind of is. So if it comes down to summoning between Dizzy and Baiken, most people would say that you should probably summon for Dizzy over Baiken if resources are limited. A lot of people are obviously gonna be waiting for Elfet. You know, a person like me that has all three characters, and it's gonna kind of suck. I understand the feeling. You're like, dang, I gotta wait for this event to be near ending, and at that point I don't even know if this character is gonna be good. Who knows if they're gonna recycle this event? Maybe I should just go for one of these characters. Dizzy is still considered the best, and I think it's still usable, and I think that once they lift the RTA ban on her and the other collab characters, you will see Dizzy in RTA way before you see Baiken. So the reason why, look at this demons. Yeah, you see she's slightly higher. Soul is the fastest of the three. Funny enough, her attack is very low. Her health is in the middle, not that crazy, not that bad. So that's, you know, where, you know, you would look at that and you'd be like, she's kind of okay, I guess. She's fast, but you know, what's the big deal about this Dizzy character that everyone's talking about? I miss hearing this character. I used to hear her everywhere. I used this to catch fish, which is a freaking ice spire. All types of stupid. All right, so attacks all enemies with the power of magic with a 25% chance each to stun for one turn. Damage dealt increases on debuff enemies. So we're already starting with stupid. Her skill 1 can AoE stun. That's the stuff of legends. Her S1 AoE stun. That's enough. That's all I really should have to say. You Molagora can only increase the damage, which you really don't care about unless you're going like a DPS Dizzy, which is not unheard of or uncommon, so it's not like it's the worst thing in the world to do. The S2 Gamma Ray, and this is I was like, there's one of them when she keeps talking, and that's the one. The Gamma Ray, where depression starts to sit in. Attacks all enemies with a powerful ray, extending the duration of debuffs by one turn, except for those which prevent the enemy from moving before decreasing combat readiness by 50%. So, as you can see, she doesn't have a debuff, and as I just said, it does not work on any stuns or freezes or anything that inhibits your movement. But she still pushes you back by 50%. Ugh. You can actually Molagora to go down to 3 turns, which is absolutely stupid. It's up there. And as you can just see it, even hovering over the S3, she has 3 debuffs that she brings in, so you can S3 and then on the next turn S2 to extend those debuffs and then push them back. And one of the debuffs that she has is slowing of the speed, which is just a vicious combo in and of itself. The S3 Emotional Gamma Ray unleashes a giant explosion to attack all enemies. The attack misses, but inflicts decreased speed, attack, and hit chance for 2 turns regardless. You can also soul burn this for an extra turn. Now the reason why you would do that is that you would S3, soul burn it, and then S2, so they would both be sitting there with 3 turns of decreased speed, attack, and hit chance, which means that they'll take forever to get a turn, and they'll also do no damage, and they also have a chance to miss, which that means they might not land their debuffs. Yeah, she's kind of broken. 4 turns if you want to Molagoro it up, which is usually what people do. That's all you really have to do. You just Molagoro this to +3 and this to +3, and then you pretty much are good to go. Also, this animation is hilarious. Pretty cool to the source material. Like every character in Guilty Gear has a different reaction to that. As you can see here, there's 3 debuffs landed here, 2 landed here, 2 landed here. Reason being, I'll explain it one more time, is that it just has to do with the check. It's the check. The check already goes through, so each one has its own little individual check. Still pretty good. Let's extend these debuffs. 3, 3. As you can see here, this one didn't get hit, this slow speed, and I can't see the other one, so each one has its own chance to be increased. Really good stuff, man. Make her fast as all types of hell, and make her go first. S3 and the attack break and the decreased hit chance alone just kind of disables the team. She pretty much made immunity a thing. I mean, so did ML Araminta, but she really made it annoying because of how good her speed is. Araminta, if I'm not mistaken, does not have as much speed as she does. So that was the first and first definitive build was speed. You would definitely go speed on her, get as much speed as possible, and effectiveness, and then that was all you needed. Dizzy just ruined all types of lives, and that is still true today. The only issue, like I said, is if the characters are running immunity, which I'm pretty sure they're going to if Dizzy becomes meta. Some people actually went with counter, and not like attack counter. They went defensive counter. They built her very tanky and made her counter because, like I said, S1 that has an AoE stun is pretty stupid. And with certain artifacts, it makes it very defensive and very good as well. Let's go straight over to that because I'm being honest, those are the only 2 builds. Either you're going speed or you're going counter. Pick one based on the artifacts that you have chosen. Now, if you're going speed, Etika Scepter is really good because it has a 25% chance, 50 when it's max, to reduce your cooldowns. You can S3, and then immediately after you S3, once you get that turn, you'll have a chance for that S3 to go off cooldown a little bit lower. Then you use the S2, and then you have a chance for both the S2 and the S3 to go down a little bit lower, and then the cycle continues. If this thing usually procs once, it's stupid. Then you have her artifact, which is the Necro Undyne. Increases the caster's combat readiness after using an attack that targets all enemies, which is pretty much all her attacks. And they just also made sure that it doesn't trigger on counterattacks, dual attacks, or extra attacks. So only when she actually has her own turn. But as you guys saw, you could definitely manipulate that, and with good speed, I think Necro Undyne is really good just because you get the combat readiness going up to 20% if you wailed out enough to get it. Most people won't have that luxury, but remember, you can get the artifact and then slowly use the powder shop to upgrade it. I think that's probably one of the better things to use it. If you don't have an artifact in mind, you want to get the 240 and upgrade an artifact like that, like a limited artifact. Abyssal Crown is really good because after attacking, you have a chance to stun. She has a stun on her S1, but you can also get stuns with your S3 and S2, which, if you don't think that sounds stupid, oh, I'll tell you it's stupid. Next one, Ayla's Violin. Now, the cool thing about this, on a AoE based character, and like I said, all her skills are AoE, is that she obviously has a chance to, every time she attacks, whether it's counterattack or not, so if this is good for both builds, she has an 80% chance to dispel buffs. Stupid. Super good. Super good. I can't stress that enough. Her common enemy is obviously Seaside Bellona, but Seaside Bellona will need immunity, and she'll need to be able to protect herself off of debuffs, because if Seaside Bellona has attack break and hit chance break, not much she's gonna be able to do here. Taga Hell's Ancient Book is obviously really good because you can start off the match with an S3 S2 combo. You don't even need to have it on her, but it existing on your team comp is pretty good too. But if you have it on her because you just want to do that combo and just slaughter them right after that, that is definitely an option. Siraden is, like I said, again, AoE stuff. I prefer Siraden on like a counter build. Have an increased chance to land more random debuffs. As you can see here, Sleep. 50% chance to land Sleep is stupid. 50% chance to land Silence is stupid, and same thing with the other ones. And that is just after you attack. It's, say it with me, class, stupid. She's just really dumb. I can't stress that enough. But that's it. We were what, 35 minutes into recording, plus me editing a little bit. My messes up. Woof. Inglando is not my first language, I promise. But if you guys want, I can also do Destina. She's back on a banner, and she is new, right? She's pretty new, so I'll probably do her next. You guys you don't have to ask me to do it, but you can ask me whatever. You could talk to me, baby. I'm gonna be doing that next, and I think that she also is crazily buffed by the newness that is around us, but pretty much no one's gonna summon her because either you have to summon for the collab characters or you have to summon for Alfed, who is a collab character that we all know that is very limited. So no one will be summoning for her, but you know, I gotta update her guide too. She was one of my first guides alongside Cecilia. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and just remember that every day at the Kashino is your lucky day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.